I refuse to use AI tools for my LinkedIn posting. There's about 1 billion users on LinkedIn, and only about 1% of those users engage with LinkedIn. And as a leader, I would say biggest failure that comes to mind is probably having one of our star employees leave. I'm sure other people who have been leaders have experienced this. It's always a bit of a bummer and a shock.
Welcome to Free to Lead, Journeys of Leaders, driven by passion, inspired by purpose. And today I'm joined with Danica Beck, and she's the co-founder and CEO of Bahia. They book interviews with A+ candidates 10 times faster than humans with their AI, because it's Bahia AI.ai. They're high-growing companies like Fullscript and Eversoft save over $100,000 in recruitment fees. So it sounds like a very exciting entrepreneurial business idea that you've created. So Danica, welcome to Free to Lead.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
How did you get into AI recruitment, if you like?
Great question. So before starting the company, I was working as a director of operations at a fast-growing tech company called Rewind in Canada. And here, one of the teams that was reporting to me at the time was recruiting and HR. And I had a few roles on my team that I had to fill. And so going through the talent sourcing process, which just means finding people who are a good fit and reaching out to them, getting them interested in the role, seeing if they would be interested in moving over. I learned that it was just a brutal process. At the time, I really needed to fill these roles. I would consider it almost a crying problem that I had, where I was just super, super stressed out trying to fill these roles on my team. Going through the process myself, I didn't like it at all. It was very time consuming. It was expensive. It was stressful. So that's kind of where the idea came from. And then the AI piece, that was just something that kind of happened naturally, I would say. I definitely did not go out looking to start a company with AI at all. That was not the plan. I was very interested in automating processes using AI at the time. Actually, at the same company, I was running a AI competition where I was encouraging the whole team to come up with ways to automate our processes internally. And so for me, part of that competition, I was like, okay, what's the one thing I really dislike doing the most? And that's talent sourcing. So I, stitched a few tools together to find a way to automate this process. And then, lo and behold, I came up with what today would be, the start of Bahia. So that's where the idea came from.
Yeah, it comes from a problem, right? You got a problem and you're trying to fix it. And certainly using AI is very up to date. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this podcast are wondering how can they implement or bring AI in to do what they specifically want to do. I love that you said I stitched together a few AI tools. To Chris Daigle, he runs a whole, AI platform and is introducing new tools all the time and how to innovate, how to systematize. Like that term, stitching a few together. Can you say a bit about that for people listening? Like, because they're trying to find the right AI tool or they can't quite find the one that works for them to do what they need to do.
Yeah, there are so many tools out there that do so many different things. And I think when you're coming up with what we call like the minimal viable product, I don't think there's any use in spending, thousands of dollars on building out this tool yourself in early days. I think in very early days, there's a lot of ways that you can automate a process with existing tools that already exist. In our case, we used about like 6 or 7 of them, I would say. And there's also ways to dabble yourself. For me, I am not a technical person. That is not my background. So for me, something that I love to do and share with people is how can you get involved in artificial intelligence and building models for yourself without necessarily being technical. And one thing that I, recommend everyone try out is you can go and actually build your own GPT, for example. If you just go to OpenAI, ChatGPT, you can actually sign up to ChatGPT 4, and then you can build a GPT yourself. It's super easy. And right there, boom, you're able to automate a process just by building your own GPT. I think I tried this and it took me, a couple hours to do. Since then, I've just been super interested in going really deep in all sorts of tools and ways to automate processes, even at Bahia internally. So yeah, I think the web has so many resources for you to to rely on. In our case, I mean, we had a few different tools that manage different parts of the talent sourcing process. And our very first version was powered by a Google Sheet. So we really just, when I say stitch, I mean, there's tools like Zapier. These are tools that help you just connect different tools together. So what we did, when I say stitch, I just mean we had about 6 or 7 different tools that already existed that kind of tackled part of the process. And
Yeah.
then we used other tools like Make or Zapier and stitched it all together. And our backend at the time was just a Google Sheet that held all of the data. So, now we're working with a dev team and we're building out a much more robust solution. But at least for our first few months, that's what it looked like. And that's how we got started.
That's super interesting. Super interesting. I had that question myself. It's a great tool, but it only does that. And it's a great tool, but it only does that. What have been some of your biggest challenges putting together your company to date?
Well, I would say because I came from corporate world before, and this is really my first startup that I am doing full time, the biggest challenge definitely has been the mindset shift in terms of problem solving. So I would say the smaller company you work at, even if it's like a 10-person company or your own, the types of problems you tackle just become much broader versus deep. And I think when I look back to my previous experience, either, at Rewind, which was my previous company of 100 people, or Shopify before that, which I think at the time I left, it was about 12,000. The problems that I worked on were very deep and the margin for error was very small. So, for example, when I worked at Shopify, I was on the finance team and I would go very, very deep into budgeting and forecasting, and I would review the same assumptions over and over until it felt perfect. But
Mm,
now the types of challenges I face every day are just so broad, right? It's everything from marketing to sales to accounting. And the margin for error, I mean, you need to be okay letting that go because if you try to hit that perfection, you just get nothing done. So I
yeah.
think for me, the biggest challenge has just been that mindset shift and being okay with not having, the 99% solution every day and being comfortable with like the 70% solution and
Mm.
finding that right balance between high quality versus just pushing things forward.
Great. Very good. Very good for everybody listening. A lot of people want it to be perfect. They don't delegate stuff because people can't do it as well as they do, which then becomes, a lid on being able to grow their business. And they end up with more and more loaded up. So being able to let go, if it's, I say 80%, right? If it's 80% as good as I can do, then that's a win. If someone can do it 80% as good as me, great. So have you had any failures along the way? Like really like, oh my goodness, but then learn something from it because the failures, it's not bad, it's not the end of the world. And the ones that sting the most seem to be the best lessons, if you can look at it that way.
For sure. Biggest failures, and that's specifically with my business or just in general
Well, no, you
in my
say,
career
you say
so
whatever,
far.
whatever shows up there. Because remember, people listening to the show are entrepreneurs, business owners. They're listening
Mhm.
for what could, what have they dealt with? What have you dealt with? And oh, you don't know. They might be dealing with exactly what you share.
Lots of failures come to mind. It's hard to just narrow it down to one. I think with the business specifically, the biggest failure that comes to mind is just not speaking to customers sooner and more frequently. We were very conscious of building a solution that was for our end customers. I mean, the two things that in my previous companies, they always reiterated was be customer focused, be customer focused. And it's funny because when I started my company, I really thought I knew what our customers wanted from the get-go. And then we started building our second iteration of the product without having as many touch points as I think we should have. And it was only a few months in when we were already maybe like, I want to say 1 or 2 months into building the next version that we started having these feedback sessions. And during these feedback sessions, there were a lot of, oh wait, oh aha, oh shoot. Basically the product was going in a different direction based on what all these people were sharing. So it's not, the good thing is we've been able to reiterate and now we're going in that direction. But I think hindsight, it would have been great to have those conversations a lot more frequently than even I thought was necessary. So now we're definitely going to be increasing the rate at which we meet with our customers just to make sure that what we're building is what they want. And then in terms of just life before startup world, as a leader, I would say biggest failure that comes to mind is probably having one of our star employees leave. I'm sure other people who have been leaders have experienced this. It's
Mm.
always a bit of a bummer and a shock when someone who's a top performer on your team decides to quit, and often you end up feeling guilt and you think that it's because of you. But I think in that case, if I had to go back and change anything, again, probably comes back to feedback. Like I think I wish the feedback loops with this person had been closer and more frequent, and that way I could have maybe at least seen the writing on the walls or tried to do something to prevent them from leaving, because the ripple effects of an A-star player leaving are just pretty big on a team, especially when you're a smaller team. So
Mm.
I think the overall theme for me in terms of my failures has just been putting more time aside to have those feedback loops for anyone on your team, whether it's a team member, a customer, or someone reporting to you.
Yeah, very, very good. So there's a principle there, right? Say there's a principle, and then I would say in my previous training for myself, over communicate.
Yeah.
Now, all right, if it's too much, it's too much, but it's better to over communicate than not communicate enough,
Yeah.
especially in situations that both of those situations you're talking about. Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, great. What do you see as your biggest challenge currently for yourself in the business, growing the business?
I mean, right now we are about 7 months in, and our biggest challenge, I think we figured out product and our roadmap, so I feel really good about that. Biggest challenge would have to be probably sales, which I'm sure most early stage founders are facing. Our first, I want to say 15 paying customers. I mean, they all came from mostly our networks and just people that we know. And I think now the challenge will be, okay, how do we figure out how to really get more customers at scale? Is something that we haven't quite figured out yet, right? I think our motion of reaching out to people we know, and we do a lot of LinkedIn content. That's been great for generating leads. We've just started doing some cold calling, which has been helping too. But I can't say that we've really figured out the main channel that's like really a gold mine for us just yet, and that we can scale very easily, right? Outside of me and my team members trying to, reach out to as many people as we can. So I think
Yeah.
sales is definitely top of mind right now for us.
Well, who's your ideal client?
Our ideal client would be a full cycle recruiter. So anyone who's working at a company and that they're doing end-to-end recruitment, we really help those recruiters because we basically take over all of the talent sourcing for them, and we just help them book interviews with very high quality candidates at record rates. So that's one type of customer that we work really well with. I would
Yeah.
say another would be hiring managers or owners of companies that might not have a recruiter at all, because we, again, are able to help connect them with people who would be great fits for their open roles. And then the last one that we are recently starting to explore is working with individual agency owners. So HR contractors or recruiter contractors, because typically they do a lot of hiring for different companies and different teams, and we're really able to help them as well. So we've got about three different profiles that are all facing the same problem, and right now we're just kind of working with all of them to see what their needs are, and I'm sure over time one of those three will kind of stick out as the person that we can help the most.
You said that you're working with clients to build what they need. Are you still working on putting AI tools together, or are you building your own platform now?
Yeah, we're building our own platform now. So we do have a team of devs that we are working with. And probably, I want to say for the past 4 to 5 months, we've been working with them on our second iteration that's much more robust. And that will all be our own tooling. So right now, we are still using, I would say, like maybe a version 5 of our minimal viable product that I described earlier on the call. We've
Yeah.
made a lot of changes since, but it is still dependent on other tools versus this new version that we're building. It's completely ours, and it'll be our own native solution that people will be able to use.
When I'm listening to people and I'm coaching people, I always get ideas. I'm quite creative, right? So you may have had this idea, but have you thought about it'd be a very long play from where you're at, but building a platform, something like LinkedIn, where people go to and say, "Look, I need someone," right? They put the parameters in and then it just goes and does it. So it's a
Mhm.
standalone. Obviously, I don't know how you fund it. Fund it through advertisement, people paying a subscription or some form. But you could be talking about a big platform.
Well, this is very similar to what we're building actually and what we
Uh-huh.
do today. So that's pretty much one part of the idea. So on our new platform, if you are hiring, let's say, a software developer, you would
Yeah,
go in, you would set all of your criteria, and then from there, we would be scraping profiles at mass from platforms like LinkedIn and other similar ones and surfacing really all of the top match candidates. And based on your criteria, we would actually give a ranking percentage on every single profile to say, okay, this person is a 97% match. This person is a 50% match. And then from there, it is essentially you would be able to enrich their information with their contact information and then set up
yeah.
sequences to reach out to these people at mass. And so you're really able to contact them, pitch the opportunity, get them excited about the role, and have high response rates. And then anyone who's interested, we would automatically schedule the call within your calendar. And so it very much is a lead gen tool. It's a discovery and lead gen tool for talent.
I'm thinking like, so do you have some sort of arrangement with LinkedIn, or do you just plug into LinkedIn like anyone else?
They have an API that we connect to. So with our new platform, we're able to essentially any information that is public on people's public profiles, we're able to pull.
Get the funding to create that. That's huge potential.
Well, the beauty of it too is because of our pricing model, we're actually able to charge upfront for all of our customers. So everything that we've built so far has been fully customer funded. We haven't fundraised at all, and we don't have plans to, at least not as of today. Of course,
Right.
that might change depending on our plans, but so far we've been able to operate at break even. We haven't been losing money or spending money of our own. It's been fully customer funded so far, which is great.
Great. And then how would people reach out to you if they say, wow, that sounds exactly what I need? How would they get in touch with you?
You can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. It's Danica Beck. We post content every week. We are very active on LinkedIn. It's where we live. Or you can also shoot me an email at danica@bahia.ai.
I'm in a mastermind group, and lots of people asking the question, how the hell do you get LinkedIn to work for you? You know, they're trying to promote themselves, they're putting their content out there, and it's not getting traction or it's not moving. It seems to be the one platform that's very difficult. Have you got any tips for people like that or anything to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, I'm still figuring it out too. But I will say, LinkedIn for me has been the best platform in terms of engagement. And I actually saw this stat that there's about 1 billion users on LinkedIn, and only about 1% of those users engage with LinkedIn. That's just people who like and comment. And then there's even less than that of people who create content. So there's actually a huge discrepancy between the amount of lurkers versus the amount of posters and people who create content. And so I've actually found that whenever I make content on LinkedIn, it's been the best because you just get so many eyeballs on your stuff. Now, in terms of getting those results, what I've noticed is people who create very genuine and authentic content always performs better than the very well structured, almost like scripted posts. And nowadays, I think the main thing that I've noticed is because there are so many AI tools that actually create content for you, there's a
Yes.
lot of posts out there that seem like it's, Chat GPT or Gemini or that put it together and it just lacks authenticity. And those posts I've noticed do not perform well at all. I think the best posts are people who are speaking like humans, one, to any post with pictures of either yourself or, people around you do really well, or even videos of yourself talking, because obviously, if you're taking a video of yourself talking, people know it's you. They know that it's real. So, my biggest tip and something I try to do always is I refuse to use AI tools for my LinkedIn posting. I
Right.
definitely want to keep it authentic and genuine, and it always comes from me. So, that's my biggest tip for anyone looking to get into the LinkedIn content game.
Brilliant. Great. Well, I just had a little light bulb go on there because my content, my videos, but I have a team that do the copy. And just they're using AI. I'm sure they're using AI, right? Not always exactly what I said. So I'm going to go back to my team and say, hey, I might just take that over for a little while. Just give me what you're going to put, and then let me rewrite it the way I would say it. Then it could impact things.
Yeah. Or, another idea. I mean, I know someone, I was thinking, I was talking to someone about this and going back to the GPT. you can actually create a GPT and train it to sound like you. So at least if you're trying to make content at scale, you can train it to sound like you and not always have to sound like the classic chat GPT. That's one idea for people who are, struggling to create content at scale. But even then, I still think it's more worth it to just set aside 15 minutes every day, just pen and paper, write down your thoughts and then see what sticks, right? Obviously some posts will hit, some won't, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's tons of awesome content on LinkedIn that you can kind of get inspiration from as well.
Yeah, I don't write mine down. I just talk straight into the camera and create like I'm talking to someone I'm working with. Awesome. Well, it's been great having you show on the show. And that last piece, I think it's good, could really touch a lot of people because a lot of people out there trying to crack the algorithm, as it were. And then they like, what is the algorithm on that platform, particularly? Danica, it's so great having you on the show. Thank you for being on Free to Lead.
Thanks so much, Phil. It's been awesome.